Hi everyone, this is our project on behavior change, specifically focusing on goal setting to increase step count. My name is Jordan Shavas, and you'll be hearing from me in just a little bit when I discuss the literature review.
Hello, my name is Isaac Maxwell, and I will be doing part of the literature review for our replication project in regards to goal setting and step count. The 2013 experiment by Curdy and Dowry called Internet-Based Contingency Management Increases Walking in Sedentary Adults, which was replicated by us, found the participants' steps increased by an average of 108.2%. The intervention implemented within the experiment consisted of a changing criterion design where participants' goals increased as they met them. The main effect being studied was the effect of goal setting on participants' daily step counts. There are a number of other studies which explore the relationship between this treatment and the target behavior. One is the 2015 study by Anson and Madras. Rather than just seeing whether goal setting could increase step counts for participants, the study also tested whether setting low goals would cause participants to take fewer steps. The study found that participants who were in the low goal setting for both parts took significantly fewer steps than participants in the high goal setting. Additionally, participants who were moved from the high goal, which consisted of 10,000 steps, to the low goal setting, which consisted of 5,000 steps, were found to have significantly reduced step counts in the second half of the study. This effect was also found vice versa, meaning that students who started in the low goal setting and were moved to the high goal setting showed a significant increase in their second half of the study on the amount of steps that they took. Further, a 2016 meta-analysis by McEwen et al. Examining the effects of goal setting on physical activity found that across 45 studies, significant effects were found across settings, except within the workplace, and regardless of whether the theory was used to guide the intervention or not. Additionally, it did not matter whether the intervention, which was goal setting, was delivered in person or via some electronic method, such as a website or a text message. These effects are still significant, which is very beneficial as it can expand the reach of people that these interventions can serve. A further encouraging finding was that significant positive effects emerge from goal setting regardless of duration, meaning that goal setting can be an effective intervention that acts quickly and remains effective for a long time. The final limitation found within this meta-analysis was that significant effects were not demonstrated on high-intensity activities, but this should be qualified by the fact that the majority of studies in this analysis did not specify intensity of the activity being performed, and so they very well could have included high-intensity activities. All of this in concert lends to the notion that goal setting can be an effective intervention that has significant positive impacts on target behaviors, and in this case, specifically physical activities. I will now hand it over to Jordan to explain why walking is a significant target behavior.
So, why step count? The CDC recommends 150 minutes of moderate activity a week for various health benefits as well as a decrease in chronic disease such as heart disease, diabetes, and cancer. A study done by Tudor-Lock et al. Found that 10,000 steps per day will meet this recommendation by the CDC because individuals are likely to increase their exertion level to a level that is consistent with this goal. Um, a study by Yamamoto et al. Found that a higher step count is associated with a lower all cause mortality rate. Um, Bassett et al. Showed that Americans only walk an average of 5,000 steps per day, making this a target behavior that we would want to see increase. So, while there are numerous ways to track physical activity and measure it, such as measuring heart rate or other various activities that require a specific exertion level and measuring that, measuring step count is fairly easy due to the um, accessibility of various fitness trackers that are on the market, um, and people are able to track that themselves. Um, as well as how easy it is, the step count is able to translate to the CDC's recommendation of the 150 minutes of moderate activity a week.
The purpose of our study was to test the effectiveness of an internet-based intervention to increase physical activity, more specifically, the number of steps walked by each participant.
Hello, my name is Giselle Silva, and I will talk about the methods of a research replication. Methods are comprised of participants, material, behavior definition, data collection, design, baseline, treatment, inter-observer agreement, and treatment fidelity. The participants in this replication were 6, 5 females and 1 male. They were graduate students, ages between 24 to 30 years old, with an average of 27.5 years old. The participants lived in different areas of the United States. The materials used were the Physical Readiness Questionnaire, a tracking device such as an iPhone, a Fitbit, an Apple Watch, a computer or a tablet with internet access, a cell phone with texting and picture capabilities, and a daily log via Google Doc. The behavior was operationally defined as total of steps taken per day from the wake-up time until the sleep time. Design. The replication study used a change criterion design. This design compared the behavior before the intervention on the baseline phase and during each criterion of the treatment, which was each time the steps goals increased. Data collection. The total steps taken per day were recorded via a tracking device, such as a Fitbit, an Apple Watch, or even an iPhone. Each participant was responsible to log the data in a daily log that was uploaded to a Google Drive. A screenshot from the device app showing the total steps for each day was added to the logs, and the daily logs were updated every day by midnight. During baseline, participants responded to the Physical Activity Readiness Questionnaire to ensure they qualify for the study. They were asked not to make any change in the regular routine, except by wearing the tracking device. The baseline was intended to show the daily physical activity habits of each participant. The baseline lasts 5 days. During treatment, daily goal was changed in each criterion. The first daily goal was based on the baseline data. The daily goal for the following criterions were based on the previous criterion data. New goal was either to exceed the fourth highest step count from the previous block or increase the step goal stated in the previous block by 1,000 steps, whichever was lower. Reviewers informed participants of new goals by email or text messages. Intervention was planned to last until participants reached an average of 10,000 steps a day or March 12, 2019, whichever came first. Inter-Observer Agreement, IOA. Reviewers checked the data to the screenshot for each day. IOA was calculated by using the mean count per interval IOA. IOA resulted in 100% agreement. Treatment integrity. In order to incorporate treatment integrity, reviewers sent text messages to participants at a random time between 10 a.m. and 8 p.m. Participants were required to answer with a picture of the participant wearing the device and a picture of the device's app. Participants should answer within 15 minutes. Participants would need to explain in 24 hours why he or she was not able to answer. Treatment fidelity occurred between each participant and his or her reviewer 3 times during the intervention. Now, Lauren will present the results of a project replication.
Hi everyone, my name is Lauren and I'm going to go over the results and the graphs for each of us. For my baseline average, it was 7,073 steps, so that was my first intervention goal. In the last phase, I averaged 10,214 steps, so I did meet the overall goal of our plan. My range for my steps overall were 3,362 steps to 12,691 steps. Next, Ashley. Her baseline average was 2,237 steps, so that was her goal for the first intervention phase. In the last phase, she averaged 1,379 steps per day, so she didn't meet the overall goal. Her range through her steps throughout the entire project was 135 steps to 4,164 steps. Next is Alyssa. She had a baseline average of 6,933 steps. In her last phase, she averaged 4,873 steps per day, so she didn't meet the 10,000 step goal. Her range of steps throughout the entire project was 170 steps through 14,206 steps. Next, we'll look at Jordan's data. In her baseline, she averaged 3,099 steps, so that was her first intervention goal. In her last phase, she averaged 5,762 steps, so she didn't meet the 10,000 step goal. Her range of steps throughout her project was 44 steps to 10,243 steps. Next, we'll look at Isaac's data. In his baseline phase, he averaged 4,709 steps, so that was his goal for the first phase. In his last phase, he averaged 5,319 steps per day, and he did not meet the 10,000 step goal. His range of steps throughout the project was 1,384 steps to 8,536 steps. Lastly, we'll look at Giselle's data. Her baseline average was 4,882 steps, so that was her goal for the first phase. In her last phase, she averaged 7,190 steps, so she did not meet the 10,000 step criteria goal. Her range of steps throughout her project were 1,666 steps through 13,872 steps.
Based on the results, every participant was able to meet criterion at least once during the intervention, resulting in an increase in phase goals, which was the number of steps each participant needed to walk in order to meet criterion. This concludes that the internet-based contingency was effective in increasing the physical activity of the participants.
Hi, my name is Ashley Miller, and I'll be talking about the limitations of our behavior change project. The first limitation was that our participants did not have to meet the same criterion for their number of steps taken. So that just led to some less uniform results and a less uniform study in general. Second limitation, different results occurred based on different participants' careers and overall lifestyles. So participants that had a more sedentary career, such as an office job with lots of sit-down meetings, lots of sit-down paperwork, tended to have fewer steps than those participants who had an active, more physically demanding job, such as a full-time behavior technician. Also, overall lifestyle, such as overall rate of physical activity, definitely impacted the results of this study. The third limitation included the measurement periods that lasted across weekdays and weekends. So different participants, including myself, definitely engage in more sedentary studying behavior over the weekends versus on the weekdays, which could impact the number of steps for that specific day on the weekend, as opposed to measurement periods that lasted 5 full weekdays. Obviously, we would have more steps during that intervention phase than an intervention phase that included the weekends. A fourth limitation included participant illness and injury. Definitely, I myself was impacted by an illness during this intervention, and that definitely impacted the number of steps that I had during that specific intervention phase, along with a few other participants. The next limitation included the different types of devices that were used throughout the intervention. So, in regards to whether participants used a Fitbit or an iPhone, I think it definitely impacted the quality of the steps tracked throughout each intervention phase. So, if you were tracking your steps on an iPhone, then you would have to be more cognizant of grabbing your phone before you completed an activity or went to a new location or completed anything, that related to steps. Whereas a Fitbit, you just wear on your wrist. So you don't have to be aware of that behavior of grabbing an extra device before you complete an activity. Also, the participants that use their iPhone to track their steps definitely experienced some dilemmas when they were completing an active physical sport such as soccer or basketball. You can't really carry around your iPhone when you're completing that type of sport, which is when you would complete your most steps throughout the day, arguably. So that could have impacted a number of steps. And the last limitation was just the time of year that the study was involved. So in the winter, people are generally less sedentary or generally more sedentary and don't necessarily complete as many physical activities as they would in summer or a spring season. And that concludes the presentation for our study. Thank you for watching, and we hope you learned something about steps and using a self-management system to increase the number of steps that you take. Thanks.